As a photographer, it's always a funny thing whenever essential things happen in your life, like getting engaged or getting married. I just got engaged not too long ago, and whenever it happened, I just set up my camera on a tripod and recorded it. Didn't raise any red flags, hilariously, because I do that all the time anyways, but then we wanted some engagement photos, for invites for a wedding website, all that stuff. And everybody would just go ahead, hire a photographer, and have them do it. But for me, it ends up being kind of fun to shoot that stuff on my own because creatively I can do whatever the heck I want. I don't really have to worry about posing anybody because it's just us. And it can be a fun thing instead of having to schedule with a photographer. It's the same feeling as I get whenever I make my YouTube videos. Nobody can tell me what to do. My only stipulations I went into this with is multiple scenes so we have some kind of variety and just like the classic engagement photos, preferably candids.
'Cause even when it's cold, I know I'll always be warm with
So we headed out mid to late afternoon. We wanted to be at this lake that's not too far away. I think it was like an hour, 15 minutes away for golden hour. But golden hour works a little bit differently whenever you have mountains involved because sunset isn't necessarily whenever the sun will hit the horizon to our eyes for where we are. The mountains are up higher, so the sun will go ahead and go behind the mountains at an earlier time. I love the look of hard shadows, long shadows, hard light, and so that's what I wanted to play with here. We got there and the first shot we were getting was at a picnic table. We saw this photo that we really liked with a couple sitting on the edge of a picnic table with some trees in the background. That's what we tried to replicate. Photos turned out great, but at the time I was using a timer on my camera. I also was using the app on my phone that can connect via Bluetooth and Wi-Fi so that you can trigger it and see a live feed. The problem is the app that Canon has to connect to the R5 kind of stinks and everything lags. The timer didn't allow us to get candids, and I was just frustrated where we could only take a photo every 10 seconds. There's nothing candid about seeing the flash go on the camera and see the light go, and then it takes one photo at 10 seconds. You're ready to go, you're waiting for it. It's just unnatural. Once we finished up taking the photos at the picnic tables, we were happy with what we got. We just pivoted and pretty much turned the camera 90 degrees, and there was some nice hard light coming through the trees. This is where we got some walking scenes, and this is where I connected the dots and thought, okay, if I want everything to be candid, I'm not gonna be able to take photos. I need to switch to video mode. So right then and there, I broke a cardinal rule. I put it in video mode. At the time, I was in 4K 60, and I threw on the 35mm 1.4 because I wanted that nice bokeh in the background. This is really killing me when filming videos without my ND filter. But it's all for good reason. Whenever you want to take stills, the thing that makes your stills from video not look as good as photo, one is usually resolution, but two is usually the fact that your shutter speed is so low, so there's motion blur. We're gonna go 8K 30. We got all the resolution, couple more frames. I think I'm picking resolution here because we're being intentional about stopping and kind of posing for photos, but we'll still have good resolution. Kind of figuring this out as I go. The max frame rate resolution that I can shoot on my Canon R5 is 8K and 30 frames per second. That's what I used, and I also shot in a log profile so I could color however I wanted. The biggest criticism I would probably get here is that you're not going to get the same resolution shooting video and pulling stills as you will taking photos. Weirdly enough, that isn't necessarily true. And in case you're a camera geek like I am, a photo resolution is going to be 5,464 by 8,192 pixels. Very high resolution. But whenever you shoot 8K video, your resolution is 4,320 by 8,192. So it's the same thing, except you lose some width because it's shooting in a wide format for video. Canon can't shoot open gate, which is using the whole sensor, but it's using the majority of the sensor in pretty much the same resolution for video and photo. The only thing I knew I would be playing with is that I can't edit the videos as much as I can edit a raw photo. I could shoot in raw video, but I didn't want to put myself through that because it's so insanely hard to process and actually use in any kind of workflow. So the difficulty to shoot these was pretty hard because I wanted us to be backlit. If I had the sun shining directly on our face, you're gonna have like a crazy shadow with your nose coming across your cheek. So the sun was behind us at all times. I needed to make sure that on my histogram, nothing was all the way to the right, blown out. Wasn't too worried about things being to the left because in my experience, I can bring back the darks, but once you lose the highlights, you're kind of done. So whenever I tested out us being in the shade like I typically would, I wasn't crazy about it. After editing it, it ended up turning out okay, but I just wasn't too fired up about it. So we moved from this bench down to a spot where we were going to be in that direct sunlight. I got a few different variations here. I got some full body. I like the look whenever we're out of focus. The mountains are in focus. Everything was manual focus here. So I'd lock focus on the mountains, have us stand there, do a few different poses. And the cool thing about it is that I'm getting video and photo here, which is like the obvious thing. But whenever you have the intention of taking the photos from the video, my mind wasn't really connecting the dots, but it's nice that we have those fun moments of us laughing. So any candid photo turns into a candid video as well. Or I guess vice versa, technically. Swapped to us being in focus wide, got the same kind of poses, went to a medium shot, and then went to a tight shot. When I went to the tight shot, this is where manual focus was essential. I had Amberly just sit there and hold her hand up because I wanted to be focused on the ring. And I told her, I was like, do not move your hand as much as you can. Keep as still as possible. So I just had her hand right there, locked focus, and then started recording. She kept her hand there the whole time. I held her hand, interacted with it a little bit, and those photos turned out great. Did the same whenever I wanted us to be in focus, but the big thing was having that ring in focus for a few, because that's probably what I would miss out on doing it myself versus hiring a photographer. The photographer can get both candid moments and the little details. They can change their autofocus point all the time. I had to trust my eye and trust autofocus whenever we were walking, like in this scene, whenever we were in the woods. I wanted to get a few different variations, but I knew I only had 5 to 10 minutes. So I had us stand up for a few and pose there, and then I wanted the very cliche, now that I think about it. I wanted the running shot. You're in this long grass, the water's right behind you. And so I clicked record and we just ran away from the camera. This is when I really relied on autofocus. And then I wanted a video because I knew that this would be a cute, cool moment. I switched it to the normal video settings, put on the ND filter, and put it also at 1/50, which is normal video. We ran again, ran back, and I swear the second we got back from running there, sun goes behind the mountains. In my mind right away, I was like, well, that's it, we're done. None of the other photos are gonna be quite as good as what we got already. But then I ran over to the car and I was like, I brought my flash because I thought it could be a cool stylistic move. I haven't used a flash in daylight before, but I've seen some editorial and wedding photographers do it in the past. Throw the flash on the top of my camera, and little did I know, some of my favorite photos I got from this entire day turned out to be after the sun went behind the mountains.